today's video, we will be looking at the most overrated players on every single AFC team. Now, preface this real quick. Just because they're overrated doesn't mean they're bad. It might be one of the best players on this team, but guess what? They're not as good as a lot of people say they are. That's what that means. Either way, before we get into this video, just to remind you, check out W.GG. Use code Shredder for not 10, 20% off your order. I just haven't got the new graphics yet. I know it still says 10. Working on it, okay? Either way, go to their website, W.GG. Look at all their energy drinks and their other products. Use code Shredder for 10% off, 20% off your order. I said it wrong. Either way, let's get right in this video. All right, so here we go. Let's start out with, we'll go with the Raiders. They're the first team here. And this is a good one to start with, actually, because it's kind of a hot take because, in a sense, let me just preface this. One, I don't really think there's that many players on the Raiders that are overrated. I think that a lot of them are properly rated. I really do. I don't think there's a problem. The one I'm going to go with is actually an underrated player who is so underrated that he's become overrated because people don't stop talking about it. Malcolm Koonce had a really good end of his year. And so that to explain this further, he had a really good end of his year, right? He did. That's not a debate. He really played well, and he's underrated. He doesn't get the credit he deserves generally. However, Raiders fans and other player fans and people who recognize him are starting to get a little out of hand, acting like he's a little better than he is. We have to see him prove it, okay? Let's let him have a little time to prove himself. He played really well. There's high expectations coming into next year, but let's just let him prove it, please. The next one we'll go with, let's go with the Texans. It's a very new player entering their building. However, it's a guy that I'm very familiar with, and it's Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon appears, he's pretty much a yearly attender to this meeting of overrated players. Joe Mixon is simply not that good. For the last 3 years in Cincinnati, he has been benched when it comes to crunch time to guys like Samaje Perine and Brown. Chase Brown. He's not that good. He has 2 or 3, maybe 4 games a year where he looks like a stud because he once was a stud. Now he's not. He's overrated, and he's probably about as mid as you can get. Next, let's go with the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa. You know, this one's kind of a dead horse to beat, but Tua's he's solid. He's a starter, but he's an average starter. He's not much better than that. He doesn't really throw the ball down the field well. He doesn't do well in cold weather. This is all stuff we know. We're not going to sit here and talk about stuff we know. It just is what it is. That's all there is to say about it. The Cincinnati Bengals, we'll go with them. I'm going to go with a player who had a really good year this year, but he's had one good year in his whole career, and it's Trey Hendrickson. Not one good year. That was a little sarcastic there, but Trey Hendrickson had 17 sacks. Was, I believe, second or third in those sacks this year. That's great. That's it. That's his biggest career achievement. Let's not act like he's a top 3 edge rusher when he hasn't proven himself to be. You can have a one-off year, have a really good year, and then never do anything again. We've seen that multiple times. He is a good starter in the NFL. A good starting defensive player. That's about it. Next up, we will go to, let's say, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm going to list a couple players here. We're going to start shooting some helicopters down here. One, both Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk. Let's stop acting like Trevor Lawrence has had decent help on his team. Gabe Davis, all he does well is on a go route and a drag route. That's all he can do. And we only saw him succeed in his career because Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, was throwing him just dimes every single play. Christian Kirk, neither of these guys, let me just say, are bad. Overrated does not mean bad. However, if you think Christian Kirk is good enough to be a wide receiver 1 for Trevor Lawrence, or even really a wide receiver 2, you're insane. This guy is a solid receiver at best, maybe a lower end 2, not low, but lower end 2, and a really good 3. Gabe Davis is a really good 3 and a very low end 2. Get this guy a real weapon. Maybe Brian Thomas can be that, but either way, don't hate Trevor Lawrence for that. Travis Etienne really fits in the same loophole with these guys. Had 4, 5, 6 games that were really, really good, and had about 4, 5, 6 games that were just really, really bad. He goes back and forth too. It's just kind of an odd game that you play with Travis Etienne. Moving on, let's go to the New York Jets. We're going to say this one is CJ Mosley. I really don't think he's that overrated. He just isn't as good as he once was. And, his name recognition does give him the ability to be a little bit better off than he is. But not really that bad. There just isn't that many overrated players on this team, in my opinion. And we've got the North, we've got the East, we've got the South. Let's go to the West. We'll go to the Chargers here. And for the Chargers, let's say I'm going to go with Khalil Mack. He had a really, really, really good year. And a really, 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 really good one game where he got 6 sacks. If he didn't have that, we wouldn't be talking about him like he is. That guy did not deserve to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Really great year. Doesn't mean you get to be in the Defensive Player of the Year race. Congratulations. Stop acting like this 34-year-old who had a really good one-off season is going to do it again. Because the chances are he's not. Moving on. Let's stay in the West. The Denver Broncos. I don't know. I literally don't know. Maybe you can argue Courtland Sutton because maybe he's the only player they have. Patrick Surtain, I was going to put him just because he's the only actual good-rated player in the league, except it's not fair to put him there because he is really good. Yeah, I have no idea. The Tennessee Titans, and we're going to swing one more jab back at Jacksonville because it's Calvin Ridley. I don't know how any of you thought last year that Calvin Ridley would be a top 10 fantasy receiver when he hadn't played in 2 years. Like, so many people were on this hype train for Calvin Ridley. For what reason? He hadn't played in 2 years, and then he wasn't even that good before that. Like, he had never been a top 10 receiver. He'd never been a top 15 receiver. He wasn't a top 10 receiver last year. They overpaid him in Tennessee. He's not that good. He is a mid-level 2 at best, and that is at best. He is not that good of a receiver. And let's just get off that train in general. The New England Patriots, I guess we'll go with Trent Brown. They really don't have anybody either, but Trent Brown just is kind of washed at this point, so we'll just throw him under the bus because he looks like, big, giant, fatty, running around there doing a whole lot of nothing. We got 3 AFC North teams left. Let's go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Jaylen Warren. I like Jaylen Warren. He's a solid player. All these guys that I've mentioned, a lot of them are very solid players. Gabe Davis is still a solid player. So is Calvin Ridley. But that doesn't mean that they're not overrated, right? Overrated doesn't mean bad. It just means they're rated higher than they should be. Jaylen Warren, really solid back. But if you think he's better than Najee Harris, you need a brain put into your head. The Buffalo Bills, this one's kind of tough as well. I'm going to go with James Cook. James Cook is a product of a system. Clearly, you saw when they changed the system, he got more, going. He's a fine running back. He's just not that good. Like, get real. The Chiefs, I'm going to say Travis Kelce here. And obviously, Travis Kelce's still a top 3 tight end. He's probably 2. But that is the point. He's not 1 anymore. And people think he's 1. He's not. George Kittle is a better tight end than Travis Kelce is right now. He's a better player than Travis Kelce is right now. And I don't think that's debatable. I really, really don't. The Baltimore Ravens, it is Lamar Jackson. And, he's obviously a great quarterback. I think he, in my top, if I'm ranking him, he's probably 5 or 6. That's awesome. He's still really good. However, he didn't deserve to win MVP. And if you think he did, then you're just wrong. He just got it because he was the 1 seed. Lamar Jackson, really solid player. Not a great quarterback. Really solid football player. Really great football player. Not a great quarterback. He's a good quarterback at best. The Cleveland, we'll go to Indianapolis first. We just got the AFC North. The Indianapolis Colts, this is a really tough one as well. I'm just going to say Josh Downs because let's not jump overboard on a, first-year player's solid rookie year. That's the only reason. I like Josh Downs. Just give him more time. You can say the same about C.J. Stroud. You can say the same about basically any rookie. Stop acting like they're all top 5 in their position when they played for 1 year because it's not true. The Cleveland Browns is Myles Garrett because he also did not deserve to win Defensive Player of the Year. Simply was not the best defender in the league. Wasn't the best defender in his conference, in his division. He just simply isn't better than guys like TJ Watt or even probably Max Crosby. Now, he's probably better than Crosby. I'll give you that much. But he's probably the 2nd best edge rusher in the league. That's it. He's 2nd. He's not the 1st. He's not the best. They only gave it to him because of, they felt like they had to give him one. And Myles Garrett, yeah, he at some point in his career deserves to win a Defensive Player of the Year. It just happened to not be this year's, right? That's kind of the only thing about it. So either way, this is our most overrated player on every single NFL team in the AFC. Let me know what you guys think and be looking out for the NFC list coming out soon. Once again, overrated doesn't mean bad. It just means they're rated too high from what they really are. And just remember that because don't get your feelings hurt. It's not that serious. Either way, I'll see you on the next video.